So this function I asked you to try, it's our last polynomial. Before we do some word problems, we're going to do our same two steps. If we want to find absolute max and min, we take the derivative. The derivative of this, 1/2 of 4, is going to be 2x cubed. Negative 2/3 of 3 is going to be a negative 2 when you bring down the power. And then x squared. And then we have minus 4x. And we're setting that equal to 0. And you could use your calculator if the fractions threw you off. Now we're going to factor. I'm going to pull out a greatest common factor first. So I can pull out a 2 for my biggest number, and I can pull out an x from all them. So 2x times x squared would be 2x cubed. 2x times a negative x would give me a negative 2x squared. And 2x times a negative 2 would give me a negative 4x. So now I can continue to factor. I want to multiply to be a negative 2, so I must have a positive times a negative. And I want to add it to be a negative 1, so it must be a positive 1 minus 2 to give me a negative 1. So I have 3 factors. I can see if I can get 3 critical numbers. Well, 2 times something to be 0 would be 0. X plus 1, to make that 0, we'd have to have a negative 1. And what makes x minus 2 0 is a positive 2. So we have 3 critical numbers that we would have to consider as long as they're all 3 on the interval. If they're not, we don't have to consider their y values. So my interval is from negative 2 all the way up to 3. So I need to think about, are these numbers within the interval? Is 0 between negative 2 and 3? Yes, I'm going to test that. Instead of putting an x and eliminating it, I'm going to box it, I'm going to test it. Negative 1 is between negative 2 and 3, so I'm going to test that. And between negative 2 and 3, 2 is as well. So I'll probably plug them in order. Negative 1, 0, and 2. And we are comparing y values, which means we're plugging into the original. You could grab your calculator and plug in. What you should get is 8.3 repeating when you plug in negative 2. When you plug in negative 1, you get 2.16, with the 6 repeating, 2 1/6. F of 0, that one's nice and easy to do without using a calculator. You get 3. F of 2 is negative 2.3, and then f of 3 is 7.5. So the hard part about all this is not just having to use your calculator a whole bunch, but then we have a lot of numbers to look at to figure out what's the absolute highest and what's the absolute lowest. So if we start with the absolute highest, I have a positive 8.3. That's going to be my absolute max. So if we just had to type in the value means y value, so our absolute max value would be 8.3 repeating, or we could hit math, enter on our graphing calculator and do that as a decimal since it doesn't, or as a fraction since the decimal doesn't stop. If we look at the absolute min value, I have positive numbers here. I have a negative 2.3. That's going to be my absolute min value. It's negative 2.3 repeating.